okay, so I'll just say the name of the company, Hinkle.
Right.
So that was dialed that and there was nothing wrong with them. It was that it was a German company that was very kind of strict,
structured,
process. And then we'd have these like kind of wild free
spirits.
come.
Yeah.
And I was
because they all wanted to be brand managers. So there were these creatives that were thinking like, that's where I want to go be a brand manager for these products. And we were like, go talk to a few people that work there and then come back.
Yeah, and then they would come back to us and they'd be like, oh my God, you saved me. Yes. And I'm like, yeah, right? Like, let's talk to you about like, what is that right fit? What is that right environment?
Yes. And so I have a really quick story to interject about informational interviewing, because this is literally what I would share when I was doing career coaching at ASU and built it into some of my courses or webinars or workshops about informational interviews, because people dread it. And it's like, actually, it's a really fun thing. So in college during undergrad, I was a broadcast journalism major. And for our senior project, we had to go do an informational interview of someone who had a job that we either wanted or a few jobs above what we thought coming out of undergrad we would want. So I had found that the program manager at a radio station, I was very much into broadcasting at the time and thought that I was going to have a career in broadcasting at that point, there was an alum of my school. I went to Lindenwood. It was Lindenwood College at the time in St. Charles, Mo. Now it's Lindenwood University. So Scott Strong was the program manager at a major radio station in downtown St. Louis, which is a pretty major market. Now, mind you, I wasn't going there looking for a job or anything. I was like, I have this project. I have to do this informational interview. So I think at that point, I don't even know if I emailed him. Like, was email a thing in the mid to late 90s? I don't know. I either emailed him or called him, right?
You probably
called him. I don't know. But was like, hey, can I come down? Would love maybe
hit his pager.
I think this was pre-pager. I don't even know. So, yeah, that's in the Wayback Machine. So I remember reaching out and saying, hey, would love a quick tour of the facility, would love to maybe meet with an on-air personality and just sit and ask you some questions about what it's like to be a program manager at a major market radio station. Cool, come down. Here's the time. And like to go from the suburbs in St. Charles, Missouri to downtown St. Louis, like I didn't spend a lot of time downtown. I mean, I did a little bit in college, we hit the bars downtown occasionally, but it wasn't like I was really familiar. It's a big city. Downtown St. Louis is a big city. So that in and of itself was intimidating just to get from, like, I don't even remember that part. Like, I guess I drove myself. I don't know. It's not like we had Google Maps at that time either.
Right.
So I get there. He and I are meeting in his office. We're chatting. I'm asking him, I have my notebook with my questions all ready and prepared. And, I'm like, how'd you get, kind of like this, how'd you go from being at Lindenwood to, being an on-air talent, working your way. He talked me through a conversation very similar to this, right? Not super scary, or I wasn't asking him for anything. So through that conversation, then he flips it and he starts asking me questions. And then he brings me around and gives me a tour, and then he takes me into the studio, and I'm like, holy shit, this is a studio at a major market, right? And like the DJs look cool and fun, and, it's mid-90s and there's some like grungy. I was like, what? Like, how freaking cool is this? He brings in the music director, because I was the music director at the college campus station. So I meet her. They give me a bunch of free CDs and t-shirts, and then she leaves and goes about her business. And he goes, so what do you work? And I was like, what? I was like, yeah, I have a part-time job. I like waited tables or whatever. He's like, would you rather be on the radio? And I was like, what? And he said, we are always looking for part-time people to fill in on holidays and weekends, and when any of the full-time staff doesn't want to work, we need some people on air. He's like, you have a good voice, you have a good presence, what do you think? And I was like, yes, please. So that led to my first opportunity. I had no idea going into that could happen, and that's what can happen over and over and over again. But it also allows you to, exactly what you said, see the culture of the organization. I got to be in there. I got to feel the energy. And I've done informational interviews where I was like, hell to the no.
Right.
I'm coming on board of this shit show. Thank God I came in here to talk to whoever, because I just saved myself a ton of heartache. Like, what if you'd gone through the whole interview process and you get the job, and then you're there and you're like, these people are loco. Yep. So that's just a little snippet of a story that I always love to share with people, because if you really just go in with an open mind and really it's an exploratory conversation, you're looking to connect and get to know the other person, evaluate sort of, one, like you said, the role. Like, do I even want to do this job? Is this something that I would want to do? Does it fit my strengths and what I can, do I have value to add here? Also the culture of the organization.
Yeah. And, the other thing Carey was able to talk me through is because it was a career change. Since I was coming from a job board with this role, like director of job seeker experience, what is that? I was coming from a corporate startup.
And what was Carey's role and where was she?
She was the career services at Gateway Community College.
Okay.
So part of that Maricopa Community College network that's so fabulous in Phoenix. And she had a wonderful program. I believe she was director at that point, but I'm not sure. But wonderful, both administrator and coach. And I had known her through jobbing. She had been in the community relations role there. So that was, a former colleague that was doing something that was really, like, I felt like the right next thing for me, but I really wanted to talk to somebody in it. And she just went through all of the, like you said, the kind of ins and outs, but then was able to help me with the really important part was like, what objections are they going to have to me? What are their concerns going to be going in for, like, because I had seen this job open at ASU and I wanted to apply to WP Carey, the MBA program, because I had just received my MBA through the program as well. So I felt like that was something I had going for me. But I needed help from her to, like, how do I make a case that I can do this gig?
Right. So like, that transitional, like, how do you spin your skill set, your strengths, what you do here, which is a huge part of what we coach people through, that they just didn't, they kind of would resist that piece too, right? Or not even resist it. They didn't understand. I mean, I even have like executive level clients that I've worked with in the last handful of years that trying to transition, right? Like people can't see, like, you still did your brain still operates the same way. And so then it's just like, how do we then look at what this new role is and pull those strengths over and communicate the value of, well, I did this here and it looks like what I assume this bullet point in your job description is over here.
Yeah. And it was also, being able to, have them understand that I knew academia and why I knew it. And, my depth of experience as a student, but also as an employee at universities the entire time. Like I worked at schools the whole time and pretty extensively worked in some nice administrative roles that I thought could be, very, very relevant. But, she walked me through the, like, what are their objections going to be and how can I speak the language that they would understand, that they were listening for, so that they would know I got it. And I think I never would have been able to go and have a conversation with you and have you buy that I could do the gig if I hadn't had that conversation.
And quite honestly, in that interview, I saw that and I understood, and I knew what we needed for that role, which was very different from what the other career coaches were doing. And so there was definite pushback. They were like, well, because the other coaches, like we said earlier, supported the full-time MBA, which was a very different experience than what we needed to do to support evening executive and online. They needed a lot more resources and access to things, whereas the full-time coaches were presenting a lot of that stuff face-to-face in office and or via a face-to-face class. And so, yeah, I really was the advocate and the voice at the table for you, because I was like, but that's not, she's not going into that role. She's going into this new role that we're creating to support these other people. So yeah. Okay. So you hop, can we fast forward a little bit and then we'll do a little bit. I'm trying to be conscious of your time.
Oh, sure.
Cause I then want to get us to the STAR method, which we've loosely kind of started getting towards. We're naturally moving in that direction. I just want to wrap up kind of like getting you to ASU and then getting you to where you are right now. And then we'll kind of get a little bit into the tactical stuff and so the circle will be complete.
Yes. So I got the gig. I started my journey on, coaching at ASU. There was a point then where, I thought I would never leave that gig. And then there was just like this pull, like everything in my life, for some reason, I was like a big man in a little suit, nothing fit.
Yeah. You're like, neat. Everything feels a little crunchy.
Yeah. And I got to that one of those decision points again where I was like, oh, Yeah, like I started trying to change things at the periphery, and I was
Mm-hmm.
circling things.
Mm-hmm.
But like there was one key thing that wasn't working out, and it was my marriage at that point was there were so many things that weren't working with it, and there was no talking about it. There was no getting any change to happen within it. So I just kept trying to change everything else. I quit my job. I started another random job that wasn't a good fit. Like, I don't know. It was just like, okay, well, maybe if I keep changing all this peripheral stuff, maybe my life will be okay and it'll start to
Yes.
fit again. And it was not working.
It's that whole like Band-Aid on the bullet wound, right? Like, I'll just
Hmm.
put a Band-Aid on this. It's, it's hemorrhaging, but I'm going to just slap another Band-Aid on it. We'll try to like keep it tucked down instead of just ripping that puppy off and then
Right. Everything
letting
was
it
on
heal.
fire and I was
Yeah.
sitting here going, it's fine.
And so, side note, perhaps we're going to have Karen on. She's going to be our resident career coach. So we can get more into this in another episode, the healing and the health stuff. So
Hmm.
just know that the Karen we're seeing today is very different because, we can, and we should, because I have many health challenges that I overcame as well. And a part of that is right, like the stress. Like we always hear like stress affects your health, and people don't necessarily. It's like very ambiguous and amorphous, and like what does that
Yeah.
really mean? It's like when your life is on fucking fire, your body starts to shut down.
Oh yeah. I got to the point where I felt like, if I stick with this, it's going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
It was just my health was tanking so fast
Mm-hmm.
and I couldn't get any traction. So that's the point where I just hit the nuclear option,
Blew
moved
it
it
up.
back, moved back to the Midwest, started over, and was like, okay, this is me building it from the ground up. What do I want my life to look like? What serves me now? Not like Karen 10 years ago, not Karen 2 years ago. Like, what do I need right now? And I think that's when I got really clear. Like, everything either has to be like, let's go ahead and swear, everything has to be a fuck yes, or I'm not going to do it.
Absolutely.
And because when you start over like that, if you're
We call that like the holy fuck. There's another coach. Oh gosh, I'm blanking on her name, but she called. Yeah, it's like the holy yes, the holy fuck. It's fuck yes or fuck no. Yeah.
yes.
Or it'll
And
keep
so
just showing up. It'll just keep showing up, right?
right, like because I was living too many things I wasn't in agreement with that weren't true to me. I was married to somebody that like it really believed a whole bunch of different things than I did. I valued different things than I did, wanted different things than I did,
Right.
and that was always going to be a problem. Like I was
Wasn't in
never going to be able
alignment.
to. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so and because I was looking, it was like what we said earlier. I was trying on other people's thoughts. I was trying, and
Yeah.
and it kept not working out. So I think that was and I struggled with it too. I still had another whole year of kind of, no, this isn't right. No, that isn't quite right. And I had a few more rungs to fall down before I finally started, like one thing worked. I got some medical help from like, I was unemployed. I was homeless. I was living in a friend's guest room, and I ended up on Medicare, which thank goodness, and food stamps, and that was the
I
moment.
didn't know that.
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
that was the moment where like all of a sudden like this kind of nobody backwoods neurologist ended up doing like these old treatments that really ended up being the thing that helped me.
Mm.
And then I was just, I started trying everything. It was like I had been so afraid to do stuff because of all the health stuff for a while that I just started trying everything. So
Mm-hmm.
me and my friend, we built I helped her build a shed from scratch. I'd never built anything, and we went on a big kayaking trip. I'd never been kayaking, and all of these things, I started just feeling like there was a lot more possibility than I had thought
Mm-hmm.
previously.
Mm-hmm.
And all of these things that I wanted in my life just started showing up because like I was looking for them. And I think I was getting some clarity on what worked for me, what served me, and what didn't.
Yeah. Well, and gaining clarity on your values and really,
Hmm.
sorry, all these sunshine spots. It's the disco ball sometimes too. Like it hits them and then, but I'm right
It's
by a window.
it's your
So
fairy light. It's your fairy
it's,
light.
yes, I called them in and they're here joining us.
All your sprites. Yeah. So really, it ended up being just the best thing. And now, I get flashing forward to this moment, where I'm stepping more into my private coaching practice, which it's been